Let's be honest, sometimes the hardest thing to face is the version of yourself that you've become. Maybe you're tired of how things are going. Maybe you've been stuck in the same patterns, reacting the same way, wasting time on the same distractions. And deep down, you know something has to change. You know the way forward means letting go of the old version of you, the one that hesitates, overthinks, settles, avoids responsibility, or keeps making excuses. That version won't take you where you want to go. This video is not about quick fixes. It's not about empty motivation or hyped-up talk that fades after a few hours. This is about real personal change. The kind you make quietly, when no one's watching. The kind you build through small, honest steps every day. We're going to talk about how to rebuild yourself from the inside out, alone, with full responsibility, without needing validation from anyone. This isn't about being harsh. It's about being real with yourself. It's about finally doing what you've avoided for too long. You'll learn how to stop relying on others to believe in you, how to adjust your mindset when your old habits no longer work, how to enforce boundaries that protect your time and energy, and how to fully commit to becoming the person you were meant to be. This is your turning point. If you're ready to stop waiting for the perfect moment and start making real changes with the tools you already have, then stay with me, because what comes next might just be the beginning of your strongest, most focused chapter yet. Chapter 1. Break free from everything that no longer serves you. Destroying the old version of yourself starts with one quiet, undeniable realization. You're no longer willing to carry what's been weighing you down. There comes a point where the patterns you once accepted become too obvious to ignore. You see yourself clearly. Maybe for the first time in years, you recognize that your habits, your relationships, your choices, and even the way you speak to yourself are not helping you grow. They are holding you back. That's when the real work begins. This is not about a temporary fix. It's not about becoming a better version of your current self. This is about dismantling everything that is no longer useful. Not because it was never good, but because it no longer fits who you're becoming. Growth doesn't always look like adding more. Sometimes it looks like walking away. It looks like standing in front of your own life and having the courage to admit that what you've built is no longer worth living in. If you want real change, you must first strip down the life that's keeping you small, not in a dramatic, chaotic way, but with a steady, intentional mindset. It begins when you choose to stop giving time, attention, and energy to what is making you feel weak, confused, or stuck. The phone that keeps you distracted, the conversations that leave you empty, the commitments that exhaust you, the people who take but never give. All of it. You don't owe anyone an explanation for outgrowing a life that keeps you from becoming who you know you're capable of being. Most people never reach this level of honesty because it's uncomfortable. You'll have to admit that certain habits were your escape, that some people were your excuse, that staying busy kept you from facing yourself, and the moment you begin cutting these things away, you will feel fear. That fear is not a sign to stop. It's a signal that you are heading in the right direction. Anything worth building starts with a period of discomfort. If it feels too easy, you're probably not going deep enough. Breaking free isn't about doing something once and feeling better. It's about choosing every single day to no longer feed what drains you. That might mean you start waking up earlier to sit in silence with yourself instead of scrolling through your phone. It might mean walking away from friends who gossip and complain, not because you hate them, but because you love your peace more. It might mean deleting numbers, unsubscribing, blocking, unfollowing, and saying no when you used to say yes. Every small action adds up. Every choice you make sends a message to your mind. You are not who you used to be. And make no mistake, it will be lonely at times. When you stop playing the role people expect of you, they may question your change. Some will misunderstand you, others will resist your growth, because it challenges their comfort. That's okay. You are not here to live in a way that makes everyone else comfortable while slowly dying inside. You are here to build a life that feels honest, peaceful, and full of meaning. That won't happen if you're clinging to people and places that only make sense to the older version of you. If you want peace, you have to stop entertaining chaos. If you want clarity, you have to stop chasing confusion. If you want strength, you have to stop doing what weakens you. And no one can do this part for you. It won't happen with a single moment of motivation. It takes self-control. It takes reflection. It takes the decision to act differently even when no one is watching. Especially then, every morning you wake up, you have a choice to either carry the same weight or release a little more of it. You don't need to overhaul your entire life in one day. Start small. Start by noticing what no longer feels right. Notice what drains you. Notice what leaves you feeling unfulfilled. Then begin removing it. Not with guilt, not with apology, but with clarity. You are not who you were 5 years ago. You're not even who you were 6 months ago. Stop living by rules that were written by an older version of you. Rewriting your life means first clearing the page. You were not born to be stuck in cycles of stress, doubt, fear, and exhaustion. But those cycles won't end until you interrupt them. That interruption begins when you say no to what no longer feels aligned. If your phone is stealing your time, turn it off for a few hours. If your home is cluttered and chaotic, clean one room. If your schedule is packed with obligations you no longer care about, cancel one. Action is clarity. When you move differently, you see differently. Too many people spend years waiting for the perfect moment to change. They think they need more time, more money, more support. But the truth is, you don't need more, you need less. Less noise, less distraction, less guilt about wanting something better. You will never rebuild your life until you stop feeding the one that's falling apart. You have to be willing to let go before you get to move forward. This work isn't always glamorous. It won't give you immediate praise or validation. You may even feel lost at first, like a tree that's been stripped of its leaves. But underneath that discomfort is freedom. You are finally giving yourself space to grow something real, something lasting. And that begins with space. Not plans, not pressure, space. You can't rebuild a new life if you don't create room for it. Every person who has transformed their life has done so by first saying, "I've had enough." That sentence is powerful. It signals a shift, a boundary, a standard. And from that moment on, your decisions start to look different. You don't accept less just because it's familiar. You don't keep toxic friends just because you're afraid of being alone. You don't keep explaining your worth to people who aren't listening. You don't settle, you rise. Quietly, consistently, day by day. If you want to become someone you've never been, you must do things you've never done. That means saying goodbye to habits that give you short-term comfort but long-term regret. That means walking away from conversations that feel like emotional poison. That means leaving environments where your growth feels like a threat instead of a celebration. This is not selfish. This is necessary. You don't have to burn bridges or cause scenes. Just stop showing up for what no longer deserves you. Let people wonder. Let them guess. You're not here to explain your evolution. You're here to experience it. Growth is quiet. Change is personal. The strongest transformation happens when no one's watching. You are allowed to shift silently and come back unrecognizable. And when you rebuild, do it intentionally. Don't chase the life you see others living. Build one that feels honest to you. One that reflects your values. one that gives you peace when you're alone. Because no matter how much you achieve or accumulate, none of it matters if you are still at war with yourself. The old you may have been loud, restless, reactive. The new you can be calm, grounded, focused. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. Every step you take towards simplicity is a step away from stress. Every decision to protect your energy is a step toward inner strength. Every time you choose discipline over impulse, you are shaping the foundation of a new life. And it's yours. You don't need permission. You don't need approval. You just need the decision. There is freedom in starting over. Not because everything behind you was a mistake, but because you are finally choosing to learn from it instead of repeating it. You are no longer carrying the weight of who you thought you had to be. You are no longer shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. You are no longer living on autopilot. You are wide awake. And from this place of awareness, anything is possible. Your life is yours now. You've been given a mind that can reflect, a heart that can feel, a body that can move. These are your tools. Use them. Create something simple. Create something strong. Don't wait for signs. Don't wait for permission. Begin now. Begin today. Break free from everything that no longer serves you, and build the kind of life that does. One habit, 1 hour, one decision at a time. This is how you begin again. This is how you destroy the old you. Quietly, honestly, fearlessly. Not by waiting for change to come, but by becoming the one who creates it. The life you want is waiting for you to remove everything that's been standing in its way. Do that now, and don't look back. Chapter 2. Cut off distractions and reclaim control of time. Time is the most valuable resource you will ever have, and yet it's the one most people lose without even noticing. Hours slip by unnoticed, days blend into each other, and before long, years have passed, filled with tasks that never mattered. If you want to rebuild your life into something meaningful and powerful, the first thing you must do is take full control of your time. That starts by cutting out everything that doesn't align with your purpose. The world is designed to distract you. It is filled with noise, notifications, opinions, urgency, and pressure. If you don't take control of how your time is spent, someone else will. The choice is simple. Lead your time or be led by everything around you. Most people believe distractions are just harmless breaks, but the truth is, they are stealing your focus and your future. A few minutes here, a little scrolling there. It adds up, not just in time lost, but in momentum destroyed. Every time you break your focus, it takes energy to get it back. And every time you give in to an unnecessary distraction, you train your mind to seek comfort instead of progress. To live intentionally, you have to become aware of what steals your time and cut it off without apology. Begin by asking yourself one direct question. What do I do each day that adds no value to my growth? If you can answer that honestly, you will uncover the truth. It might be checking your phone every 5 minutes. It might be watching videos that entertain but never educate. It might be conversations that go nowhere, or tasks you do out of habit but never reflect on. Whatever it is, you must identify it and then replace it. You don't break bad patterns by resisting them, you break them by replacing them with better ones. Your mind thrives on clarity, but it can't focus in chaos. Distractions create mental clutter. When your attention is divided, your progress suffers. You begin tasks but don't finish them. You plan but never follow through. You start the day with energy and end it feeling scattered. To change this, you need boundaries. Not just physical boundaries, but mental ones. Learn to protect your focus like it's your most valuable asset, because it is. Create blocks of uninterrupted time each day for what matters most. Turn off notifications. Put your phone in another room. Tell people you're unavailable during certain hours. Say no more often. You don't need to be available to everyone at every moment. What you need is space to think, work, reflect and build. That space will never appear by chance. You have to create it on purpose. Reclaiming your time means learning to value it enough to protect it. You must also examine how you spend your time when no one is watching. That's where real discipline lives. Do you reach for distractions to escape the discomfort of effort? Do you seek quick rewards because you're afraid to sit in silence with your own thoughts? These are the moments that shape your future. If you want to build a stronger life, you must stop giving your attention to things that weaken you. Nothing changes until you do. Start tracking your time honestly. Keep a notebook. Write down what you do each hour for 1 week. You'll quickly see where your time goes. It won't lie to you. You might find that hours are spent reacting instead of creating, that your day is built around other people's priorities instead of your own, that you are busy but not productive. This kind of self-awareness is the foundation of taking back control. Once you see the truth, change becomes simpler. Cut back on tasks that feel urgent but serve no long-term purpose. Cut off conversations that leave you feeling drained or distracted. Limit exposure to media that fills your mind with noise instead of clarity. You don't need to know everything. You need to know what matters, and most of what you consume daily does not matter. Time is not something you find. It is something you fight for. Each day is a battlefield for your attention. Win that battle, and you take control of your life. Lose it, and you drift through your days, doing what others want, never reaching your own goals. You must decide which outcome you're willing to accept, because no one is going to manage your time for you. That's your responsibility. Own it fully. This isn't about being perfect. It's about being aware. It's about choosing your time with the same care you would give to your money or your health. It's about recognizing that every hour spent aimlessly is one you'll never get back. This doesn't mean you never rest or enjoy life. It means you choose when and how to rest, so it serves your recovery, not your avoidance. It means living with purpose, not passivity. Most people never change because they never create the space to do so. Their schedules are packed with the same routines, same conversations, same habits. If you want a different outcome, you must make different choices. Clear your calendar of things that don't matter. Prioritize the hard work that moves you forward. Structure your day around what strengthens you. And once you set that structure, defend it. Your focus is a muscle. The more you protect it, the stronger it gets. The more you allow distractions to invade, the weaker it becomes. If you want to live a meaningful life, you have to train your attention to stay fixed on what matters. That means saying no even when it's uncomfortable. That means turning down short-term pleasures for long-term peace. That means being clear about who you want to become and ruthless about what gets in the way. Success does not come to the person who is always busy. It comes to the person who is focused, the one who can lock in, show up, and stay the course. You don't need more time, you need less waste. Cut it off. Cut off the people who interrupt your work every day. Cut off the habits that keep you up too late. Cut off the scrolling that leaves you mentally drained. Cut off the multitasking that leads to mediocrity. Choose deep, focused effort. That is where real results are born. Discipline is freedom. The more structure you create, the more space you feel inside. You don't waste energy deciding what to do next, because your path is already clear. You're not reacting to life, you're building it. That shift in control changes everything. You no longer feel like time is slipping through your fingers. You begin to feel powerful, steady, focused. You wake up each day with a plan, and each night you go to sleep knowing your actions were aligned with your goals. If you ever feel lost or overwhelmed, return to your time. Look at how you're spending it. Ask yourself what it's building. If it's not moving you toward the life you want, then it's moving you away from it. Time never stands still. You are either progressing or regressing. Make that truth work for you. Decide what matters and remove everything else. In the end, control over your time is control over your life. Nothing changes until that changes. When you cut off distractions, you reclaim your energy, your attention, your creativity, your strength. You stop living by reaction and begin living by design. It's not easy. It requires hard choices, uncomfortable discipline, and daily awareness. But the reward is freedom. The kind of freedom that gives you full ownership of your life. No more waiting, no more excuses, just clarity, focus, and forward movement. This is how you begin to rebuild yourself from the inside out. This is how you take back your time and make it count. Chapter 3. Face your fears and stop running from pain. Fear is not the enemy. Avoiding it is. The more you run from fear, the more power it gains over your life. It begins quietly, shaping your decisions without you noticing. You hesitate to speak up. You avoid taking action. You stay in situations that drain you, not because they are right for you, but because they are familiar. Fear doesn't need to shout, it just needs you to freeze. And when you do, life stops moving forward. Nothing keeps you stuck more than the belief that you to feel safe before you act. That belief is the trap. Progress starts when you stop waiting to feel ready and start moving in spite of fear. Pain is part of life. You cannot grow without discomfort. Every meaningful breakthrough is on the other side of resistance. Avoiding pain only delays your transformation. It keeps you circling the same thoughts, repeating the same patterns, and wondering why nothing changes. You're not avoiding pain, you're trading it. You avoid the pain of facing yourself, and instead accept the pain of regret, self-doubt, and limitation. That's not a solution. That's surrendering to fear without even knowing it. Facing fear requires honesty, not with the world, with yourself. You have to admit what you've been avoiding. The hard conversations, the decisions that scare you, the possibility of failure, the truth about your habits. Everything you hide from gains power in silence. When you face it, you take that power back. Fear feeds on delay. The longer you wait to confront it, the stronger it feels. But once you take action, even one small step, the illusion begins to break. You realize fear was never as big as your mind made it out to be. You don't become fearless, you become braver. You become willing to feel discomfort because you value growth more than you fear pain. You begin to understand that fear is not a signal to stop, it's a sign that you're touching something important. The edge of your comfort zone is the beginning of your evolution. Growth is not supposed to feel easy, it's supposed to feel unfamiliar. That's how you know it's working. The moment you stop running, everything changes. You stop seeking distractions to numb your mind. You stop blaming others for your hesitation. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit your fear. And in that stillness, you discover clarity. You start to ask better questions. What exactly am I afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? Could I handle it? Often the answers are not as terrifying as your mind imagined. The truth is, most of the fear you carry is based on assumption, not reality. When you avoid fear, it becomes your ceiling. When you face it, it becomes your fuel. Courage doesn't show up in big loud moments. It shows up in small decisions. It's in the call you've been afraid to make, the boundary you've been afraid to set, the opportunity you've been afraid to pursue. Every time you lean into discomfort, you prove to yourself that you are capable. That proof builds confidence, and confidence built from action is stronger than anything you could read or hear. You don't need to fix everything overnight. You just need to start showing up differently. Start by identifying one fear you've been avoiding. Write it down, name it clearly, then break it into one small step you can take today. If you fear being judged, speak anyway. If you fear failing, try anyway. If you fear change, move anyway. Fear will never disappear, but its influence over you can be weakened by action. The more you face fear, the less it controls you. That's how you build freedom. Not by escaping discomfort, but by building the strength to carry it. You develop emotional resilience through repeated exposure to what makes you uncomfortable. You stop seeing fear as danger and start seeing it as a doorway. You understand that pain has lessons to teach you. It sharpens your focus. It builds your strength. It forces you to grow in ways comfort never could. You also begin to realize that fear often protects your ego, not your life. It's the voice that says, don't try because you might look foolish. Don't speak because someone might disagree. Don't fail because others will see. But growth doesn't care about your ego. Growth cares about your commitment to become more than who you were yesterday. When you drop the need to be seen as perfect, you become free to take risks. You become free to stumble, learn, and rise stronger. That is real power. The pain you've been avoiding is not your enemy. It's your signal. It's pointing to where you're still stuck. It's showing you the gap between who you are and who you could be. Ignoring it doesn't close that gap. It just keeps you standing on the same side. Every time you choose to face it, you move closer to who you're meant to become. That shift doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the hard moments, the ones that require presence, courage, and discipline. Self-mastery begins with confronting what you fear most. That might be the fear of failure, rejection, abandonment, or uncertainty. Whatever it is, name it, face it, and stop letting it dictate your choices. You're not meant to live in a cage built by your own avoidance. You are meant to live fully awake, fully engaged, and fully responsible. That begins by facing what you've been hiding from. Most people carry emotional pain, not because of what happened, but because they never processed it. They never sat with it long enough to understand it. They ran, distracted themselves, numbed it, and pretended to move on. But unprocessed pain doesn't disappear. It waits. It shows up in your behavior, in your reactions, in your anxiety, in your relationships. The only way out is through. You must feel it to heal it. That means giving yourself space to feel uncomfortable without rushing to escape. Facing your fear is not a one-time event. It's a daily decision. It means choosing presence over avoidance. It means allowing discomfort without needing to fix it instantly. It means trusting yourself to handle life instead of hiding from it. This builds inner strength, the kind that doesn't waver when things get difficult, the kind that stays calm when others panic, the kind that shows up even when it's hard. This strength is earned. It's not given to you by others. It's not based on how many people support you or how easy your path is. It's built through deliberate effort, through standing in fear and choosing to move anyway, through understanding that every moment of pain is a chance to grow into something stronger. That mindset changes your relationship with life. You no longer fear pain. You work with it. You no longer avoid struggle. You learn from it. Your fears are not final. They are simply unchallenged. The moment you turn and face them, you begin to take your life back. You begin to realize how much power you gave away by avoiding what you needed to confront, and from that realization comes something rare. Self-respect. You start to trust yourself again. You start to see that you are capable of handling far more than you imagined. That trust becomes the foundation of everything you build. No more running. No more hiding. No more shrinking yourself to feel safe. Stand in front of your fear and look it in the eye. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Understand it. Learn from it. Let it shape you into someone wiser, stronger, and more disciplined. This is how you grow. This is how you build a life that feels real. Not by avoiding pain, but by moving through it with courage and clarity. You have everything you need to begin. The only thing standing in your way is the fear you haven't faced yet. Go there. Stand in that space. Face your fear. Stop running from pain, and build the strength that only truth can give you. That is where freedom lives. That is where your new life begins. Chapter 4. Let go of your past, without looking back. The past has a way of following you, even when you think you've left it behind. It shows up in quiet moments. It creeps into your decisions. It hides in your hesitation. It fills your mind with doubts you thought you had already outgrown. You carry it in your memories, in your habits, in the way you talk to yourself when no one else is around, and until you make the conscious choice to let it go, it will keep shaping who you are and how far you can go. Letting go is not forgetting. It's not pretending something didn't happen. It's choosing to no longer allow it to define you. Your past may have shaped you, but it is not responsible for who you choose to become. The people who left, the mistakes you made, the opportunities you missed, none of that has to control the rest of your story. You are not obligated to carry the weight of everything that happened to you. What happened is real, but what you do with it from here is completely your choice. There's a kind of freedom that comes with closing doors that no longer lead anywhere. Many people stay emotionally trapped in the past because they keep opening those same doors, hoping something will be different this time. They replay the same conversations, revisit the same disappointments, and rehearse the same regrets. But healing doesn't happen through repetition. It happens through release. You have to stop going back. Not because the past doesn't matter, but because your future deserves your full attention. Letting go begins with acceptance. Not approval, not agreement, just a quiet acknowledgement that what's done is done. You cannot change what was said, what was done, or what was lost. But you can choose what you carry, and what you choose to carry will either build you or break you. If something from your past still makes your present heavy, it's time to put it down. Not everything deserves a place in your future. You have to make space for new experiences by clearing out the old ones. Your mind will resist this at first. It will try to hold on, not because the pain is useful, but because it's familiar. You've carried it so long it feels like a part of you. But pain is not identity. Pain is information. It teaches you, but it's not meant to stay with you forever. When you replay the past over and over, you're not learning, you're reliving. And reliving pain over and over does nothing but keep you stuck in a version of yourself that no longer exists. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop bleeding. It means you stop giving energy to wounds that should have already healed. It means you stop tying your worth to moments that didn't reflect your value. It means you stop waiting for closure from people who never gave it to you and probably never will. You don't need closure to move on. You just need a decision. You don't need permission to move forward. You just need courage. Sometimes you hold on because you think if you let go, you're giving up, but holding on to what hurts is not strength. Real strength is walking away without bitterness. It's choosing peace, even when you never got an apology. It's deciding your own healing matters more than proving your pain. You don't need to prove anything, you only need to grow. Growth means stepping away from what happened and stepping into who you can become. That means you stop defining yourself by your past titles, past roles, past relationships, or past failures. You are not that mistake. You are not that heartbreak. You are not that loss. You are something new, but you'll never experience the power of that truth if you keep looking at and expecting the past to give you something it never gave you the first time. Your future is built in your present, and if your present is filled with thoughts of the past, you're building your future on a foundation of regret. That foundation will never be stable. You will always be pulled back into old behaviors, old beliefs, and old limits. The only way to break free is to stop reaching for what's already gone. What's behind you is done. What's in front of you is unwritten. That's where your power is. That's where your focus must be. This is not easy. Letting go requires you to sit with feelings you've avoided for years. It requires honesty about what you've lost and what it cost you. But once you face it, once you fully feel it, you can finally release it. The pain begins to loosen its grip. The memory loses its weight. You begin to breathe differently. You begin to think differently. That is the beginning of true change. You cannot move forward while dragging chains from your past. You may think you can carry it all, but eventually it slows you down. It makes you tired. It clouds your vision. And worst of all, it convinces you that you're not capable of more. But you are. You are capable of building something completely new. A mindset that serves you. A lifestyle that energizes you. A path that feels honest. But none of that happens if your mind is still stuck in yesterday. Stop telling the same old story. You are not bound to a single narrative. You can decide what this next chapter looks like, and that starts with what you focus on. If you keep feeding the past, you starve the future. But if you redirect your attention, you give your energy a new place to grow. Focus on where you want to be, not where you've been. Focus on what's possible, not what was lost. You owe it to yourself to create a life you're proud of, and you can't do that by clinging to old pain. You can't do that by chasing people who walked away. You can't do that by holding grudges that keep your heart heavy. The only way forward is through release, clean cuts, clear decisions, honest reflection, and an unwavering commitment to no longer live in yesterday. Your past might explain who you are, but it does not define who you can become. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to want something more. You are allowed to stop dragging the past into the future. This is your life. You get to choose what comes with you. Choose peace, choose clarity, choose purpose, and leave everything else behind without guilt, without explanation, without looking back. Chapter 5. Take full responsibility for everything in your life. There comes a turning point in every life when blaming others simply stops working. The complaints wear thin. The excuses lose their power. The finger-pointing becomes a distraction you can no longer afford. That's when real change begins. When you decide finally and fully that everything in your life is your responsibility. Not because everything is your fault, but because nothing will improve until you take ownership of your role in it. Responsibility means stepping out of the mindset that says, I would have done better if they hadn't stopped me. It means refusing to wait for someone else to fix what you're capable of fixing yourself. It's not about blaming yourself for things beyond your control. It's about owning how you respond to them. The most powerful people you'll ever meet aren't the ones who've had the easiest lives. They're the ones who stopped giving their power away to everything they couldn't change. When you take full responsibility, you stop waiting. You stop waiting for approval, permission, or perfect timing. You stop waiting for apologies that may never come. You stop expecting the world to reward your intentions instead of your actions. Life isn't fair, but it's yours. That means everything that happens from this moment forward, every decision, every reaction, every direction you take, is entirely up to you. It's uncomfortable to realize that many of your problems are the result of your own choices, but it's also liberating. If you created a pattern, you can break it. If you stayed silent, you can start speaking. If you tolerated what hurt you, you can stop. As long as you think your circumstances are someone else's responsibility, you'll wait for them to change. But the moment you accept that you are the driver, not the passenger, everything shifts. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is going to swoop in and hand you the life you dream about. That's not meant to discourage you, it's meant to wake you up. Because once you accept that you are the only one responsible for your direction, you become incredibly powerful. The people who thrive aren't the ones with perfect backgrounds. They're the ones who looked around at their lives and said, "This might not be what I wanted, but it's what I've got, and I'm going to build from here." That's what ownership looks like. It's not glamorous, it's often hard. It means doing the work no one sees. It means making decisions that others might not understand. It means looking at the parts of yourself you'd rather ignore and saying, "This is mine to fix." It means acknowledging where you've been the problem without making yourself the villain. That kind of self-honesty is rare, but it's the foundation of growth. Taking responsibility requires you to let go of the story that you're powerless. It demands that you stop using your past as a shield. Your background may have been unfair. You may have been hurt in ways you didn't deserve, but that doesn't mean you're stuck. You don't have to spend the rest of your life trying to make sense of what broke you. You can decide to focus on what you're building now. Every excuse you hold on to is a wall between you and your potential. Every time you blame someone else, you give away a piece of your energy. That energy could be used to change your mindset, to upgrade your habits, to rebuild your environment. But if your focus is always on what went wrong or who hurt you, you'll never make space for what's possible. This is the quiet truth. Responsibility isn't punishment, it's power. It's the difference between reacting and responding, between drifting and deciding, between repeating old patterns and creating new outcomes. And no one can do it for you. The people around you can support you, guide you, encourage you, but they can't live your life for you. That's yours and yours alone. When you commit to full responsibility, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start asking, "What can I do about it?" That shift in mindset changes everything. You become focused, not on blame, but on solutions. You become driven, not by fear, but by clarity. And that clarity opens doors you didn't even know existed. There's nothing more empowering than knowing that your future is not tied to your past, unless you choose to keep it that way. The habits you practice today will determine who you become tomorrow. The thoughts you reinforce, the actions you take, the boundaries you set, these are all choices, and every choice either leads you closer to the life you want or keeps you locked in a life you've outgrown. Taking responsibility also means you stop settling. You stop accepting just enough from yourself. You stop giving half effort and wondering why you get half results. You begin holding yourself to a higher standard, not out of guilt or shame, but out of self-respect. You start showing up with intention. You start creating momentum. And momentum over time builds a life that reflects your discipline and your vision, not your distractions. When something goes wrong, don't look for someone to blame. Look for the lesson. When you fall short, don't collapse into self-pity. Reflect, adjust, and keep moving. That's how you grow. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to stay honest with yourself and refuse to make excuses when you know better. Everything in your life, from your health to your finances to your relationships, is a reflection of what you've chosen to prioritize. If something isn't working, the first step isn't to blame, it's to evaluate. What are you tolerating? What are you avoiding? What are you delaying that you know needs to be done? Your life is not random. It's a mirror. And when you stop blaming the mirror, you finally start to change the reflection. This level of personal accountability is rare because it's hard. It forces you to drop the comforting lie that you're a victim of circumstance. But what you gain is worth every ounce of discomfort. You gain control. You gain focus. You gain the ability to move with purpose. Regardless of what's happening around you, you are not at the mercy of your past. You are not defined by what others did or didn't do. You are the author now, and every decision you make is a sentence in the story of your life. Make it count. Stop waiting. Stop wishing. Step up. Own it all. The good, the bad, the unfinished. That's how you reclaim your life, by taking responsibility for every piece of it, and refusing to give that responsibility to anyone else ever again. Chapter 6. Build daily habits that shape a stronger you. You don't become stronger by accident. You become stronger by what you do consistently when no one's watching. The real transformation doesn't happen in one big, life-changing decision. It happens in the small, often invisible choices you repeat every single day. Your habits are building you, whether you realize it or not, and the person you become tomorrow depends entirely on what you choose to practice today. A strong life isn't something you stumble into. It's created by design, and the foundation of that design is daily discipline. Not rigid, punishing discipline, but a calm, steady, intentional way of living that aligns your actions with your values. When you commit to certain non-negotiable habits, you stop drifting. You stop wondering why you feel stuck. You begin to live with clarity and momentum instead of confusion and chaos. It's not about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing the right things regularly, even when you don't feel like it, even when the results are invisible, even when no one claps for you. Those are the moments that build resilience, because strength isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, and spiritual, and it's built in the quiet, repetitive acts that most people overlook. Waking up early and getting your mind right before the day starts. Drinking water before reaching for coffee. Moving your body when your energy is low, instead of numbing out in front of a screen. These might seem like small things, but they set the tone. They teach your mind that you are someone who shows up. Someone who doesn't let moods decide the day. Someone who honors their goals even when it's inconvenient. Habits shape your identity. They aren't just actions, they're proof. Every time you follow through on a habit that serves you, you send yourself a message. I can be trusted. I follow through. I mean what I say. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from fake motivation, not from hype, but from the quiet knowledge that you are consistent with your commitments. Strong people aren't the ones who never struggle. They're the ones who keep returning to their process. They fall, but they don't abandon their foundation. When life gets difficult, and it always will, they don't crumble. They lean on their habits to carry them through the fog. Their structure gives them direction when everything else feels uncertain. You don't need 100 new habits. You just need a few powerful ones practiced with intention. A morning routine that clears your mind. A daily practice that strengthens your body. A quiet moment each evening to review your day. Not with shame, but with honesty. Did you show up the way you intended? Where did you hide? Where did you lead? What needs adjusting tomorrow? These simple check-ins realign you with your purpose. Without them, it's too easy to slide back into unconscious living. Building habits that make you stronger also means letting go of habits that weaken you. The ones that drain your energy. The ones that distract you from what matters. The ones that feel comfortable but keep you stagnant. Not all habits are created equal. Some are anchors, some are fuel, and the longer you hold on to the wrong ones, the harder it becomes to build a life that reflects your potential. Strong habits often begin in discomfort. They require you to stretch beyond your current mindset. They challenge your excuses. They confront your patterns. But that discomfort is temporary, and what it gives you in return is long-lasting power. Power over your reactions. Power over your environment. Power over the direction of your life. A strong person doesn't rely on willpower every day. They rely on systems. They build their environment to support their habits. They remove friction wherever they can. If working out is a daily habit, they lay their clothes out the night before. If reading is a habit, they keep the book visible. They don't expect motivation to carry them. They set themselves up so that showing up becomes automatic. Discipline isn't about being hard on yourself. It's about caring for yourself at the deepest level. It's about protecting your peace, guarding your energy, aligning your time with what truly matters. When you treat your habits like sacred ground, you stop letting randomness decide your future. You become intentional, strategic, grounded, and that kind of life over time becomes unshakable. There will be days when your habits feel boring, days when they feel hard, days when you wonder if they're even making a difference. But every rep counts. Every walk matters. Every journal entry, every healthy meal, every time you choose presence over distraction, it all adds up, even if no one sees it. Even if you forget to celebrate it, it's still building something inside you that cannot be faked. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your habits. Your vision is only as strong as the routines that support it. Big dreams without small daily steps are just wishes. But small steps, taken seriously, build unstoppable momentum. They create a rhythm to your life that becomes deeply rooted. A rhythm that makes strength your default, not your exception. No one will do this for you. No one can build your habits. No one can train your mind or protect your time. That's your job. And the earlier you take it seriously, the sooner you begin to feel the results. Not just externally, but internally. You'll think clearer. You'll feel lighter. You'll respond to stress differently. You'll handle setbacks with more grace. Not because life gets easier, but because you get stronger. And when others wonder how you've changed so much, you'll know the answer isn't magic. It's not luck. It's not some secret. It's the habits. The tiny, consistent, unglamorous actions, repeated over and over until they rewired your identity. That's how you shape a stronger you. Quietly, repetitively, intentionally. Every day. Especially when it's hard. Especially when it's not convenient. Especially when no one's applauding. Because at the end of the day, your habits are your vote for the person you want to become. And the strongest version of you is forged in those votes, cast daily, without noise, without drama, but with relentless commitment. Chapter 7. Wake up early and start living with purpose. Most people sleep through the most important part of their life, not just literally, but mentally. They drift through their mornings without direction, without urgency, and without any real connection to what they're doing. They hit snooze, rush through routines, and react to everything around them as if life is happening to them, not through them. But the truth is, your day begins long before the world expects anything of you. And if you want to live a life that's intentional, clear, and strong, you need to wake up early and meet the day on your terms. Waking up early isn't just about the time on the clock. It's about reclaiming ownership over your life. It's about choosing to lead rather than follow. When you start your day before the noise begins, you give yourself a chance to tune in, to think clearly, and to remember who you are and where you're headed. That quiet space in the morning, when the world is still asleep, holds unmatched power. It allows you to hear your thoughts before the distractions creep in. It gives you clarity that's hard to access once the day starts pulling you in 100 directions. You don't need to be a morning person. You just need to be a person who values their life enough to start it with purpose. Too many people wake up just in time to survive the day, instead of preparing to lead it. They react to alarms, to messages, to chaos, but never to their own goals. If you want to stop feeling behind all the time, stop waking up at the last possible moment. That's not a habit, it's an escape. And it slowly kills your discipline, your momentum, and your confidence. When you rise early and use that time with intention, something changes in you. You start your day from a place of strength. You're not scrambling. You're choosing. You're not reacting. You're creating. Even if it's just 30 minutes, those 30 minutes before the world wakes up become a sacred container for your future. Read something that fuels your mind. Move your body to remind yourself that you're alive. Sit with your thoughts before the world starts screaming for your attention. These aren't luxuries, they're necessities for a life of clarity and direction. You don't need a complicated morning routine. You just need a consistent one. A simple sequence that you follow every single day, no matter how you feel. That structure gives your life order. It sets the tone. It anchors you to your purpose. Because when you wake up early and start with intention, your entire day flows differently. You carry calm instead of panic. You respond instead of react. You lead instead of chase. Purpose isn't something you stumble on by accident. It's something you align with daily. And that alignment starts in the morning. Before the emails, before the responsibilities, before the noise. It begins when you decide that your time matters, and that you will no longer give your best energy to things that don't move you forward. The world will always try to pull you into urgency, but the early morning is your chance to remember what's truly important. Your health, your mindset, your mission. Every morning you choose to rise early is a vote for a life of structure and clarity. It's not about waking up at 4 a.m. It's about waking up before the world steals your time and energy. It's about waking up before your doubts get louder than your dreams. It's about showing yourself that you're serious, that your life matters enough to be lived on purpose, not by accident. Living with purpose doesn't require perfection. It requires presence, and presence begins with space. Space to breathe. Space to plan. Space to ask yourself, what kind of life am I building today? That kind of awareness doesn't come when you're rushed. It comes when you take control of the start of your day, when you decide that your mind and your body deserve attention before anything else. The reason most people feel lost isn't because they lack potential. It's because they lack intention. They drift into each day like passengers instead of drivers. They don't steer, they don't plan, they don't lead. And eventually, they forget where they were even headed. That cycle breaks the moment you choose to wake up early and take command of your time. That's when you shift from being passive to powerful, from reactive to focused, from confused to clear. Imagine a life where every day begins with you doing something that feeds your spirit before you give a single piece of yourself away. That's not a fantasy. That's a choice. A powerful, consistent choice that changes everything. Your thoughts become clearer, your energy becomes stronger, your days feel longer, not because time changed, but because you finally stopped wasting it. Most people wait for motivation to wake them up. But motivation is unreliable. Discipline is not. If you're waiting to feel inspired to start your day with purpose, you'll wait forever. What matters is the commitment to show up anyway, to rise when it's hard, to move when it's cold, to think when it's quiet. That's how you become unstoppable. That's how you become the kind of person who doesn't need outside pressure to take action, because you already decided that your life is worth it. You don't need to do everything at once. Just start by waking up 15 minutes earlier than usual. Use that time to breathe, to reflect, to move, to plan, then build on that. Make it 30 minutes, then an hour. Build a foundation that grounds you before the world pulls at you. The more you do it, the more it becomes who you are. Not just someone who wakes up early, but someone who lives intentionally, someone who values their time, someone who leads their life from the inside out. And on the days you fail, and you will, don't throw it all away. Get back up the next day. That's how you build consistency. That's how you build strength. That's how you build purpose, not in the perfection of your routine, but in the return to it. Every time you rise with intention, you reinforce who you're becoming. Every early morning is a message to yourself. I'm here. I'm ready. I'm in control. And that message, repeated day after day, becomes your reality. So if you want a stronger life, a clearer mind, and a deeper sense of purpose, stop waiting, stop hoping, stop drifting. Wake up early, wake up with intention, and start building the life you were meant to live, one focused, quiet, determined morning at a time. Chapter 8. Track your progress, and hold yourself fully accountable. Most people want change, but very few are willing to measure it. They want results without the mirror. They want progress without proof. But if you're serious about growing, evolving, and becoming the strongest version of yourself, you need to track what you're doing and hold yourself to the highest personal standard. Not because someone else is watching, but because your future depends on it. You can't improve what you don't measure. And you can't lead yourself if you're not honest about where you stand. The truth is, every step you take matters. Every choice you make either brings you closer to your goal or pulls you further from it. But if you're not keeping track, you'll convince yourself you're doing more than you are. You'll assume you're making progress because you're busy, not because you're intentional. That's where accountability comes in. It's not punishment, it's clarity. It's how you stay rooted in truth, instead of drifting into excuses. Accountability means refusing to lie to yourself. It means facing the facts, no matter how uncomfortable they are. If you said you were going to wake up early, did you? If you promised to work on your goal for an hour a day, did you follow through? If you committed to improving your health, did your actions reflect that commitment? Most people don't like to ask these questions because they reveal the gap between who they say they are and how they actually live. But growth lives in that gap, and you close it not by talking more, but by tracking and adjusting. Keeping a record of your actions is one of the most powerful tools you can use. It keeps your effort visible. It makes your behavior real. It shows you patterns where you're strong, where you're slipping, where you need to tighten up. A notebook, an app, a journal. It doesn't matter how you do it. What matters is that you start. Even the smallest bit of data over time tells a story, and that story reveals the truth of your discipline. People who don't track anything often rely on memory, but memory is flawed. It's emotional, not factual. You might feel like you're making progress, but your feelings will lie to you. Facts don't. When you write it down, when you log it, when you see it in black and white, there's no hiding. You either did it or you didn't. That's where your power begins, when there's nowhere to run from your own results. Holding yourself accountable doesn't mean being harsh. It means being responsible. It means saying, if I want this life, I have to earn it. And if I'm not doing what's required, I have to change. That mindset separates people who talk about success from those who actually build it. They don't wait for motivation. They don't rely on good days. They stay grounded in their numbers, their consistency, their truth. You can build a system that works for you. Break your goals into actions you can measure. If you're trying to read more, track the pages. If you're working on your fitness, track your workouts. If you're building a business, track the tasks that generate results. Don't just hope you're getting better, prove it. Every time you write something down, you're taking control of your progress. You're refusing to leave your future to chance. There will be days you don't want to track anything. Days when you fall short. That's when it matters most. You don't track to celebrate only the good. You track to own it all. The wins, the slips, the lessons. When you face your off days with honesty, they lose their power. You don't spiral, you learn, you course correct, you show yourself that you're serious enough to stay aware even when things aren't perfect. Accountability isn't about shame, it's about alignment. It's about matching your actions with your vision. It's about building trust with yourself, brick by brick. When you consistently do what you said you would do, you begin to see yourself differently. Not as someone who hopes for change, but as someone who creates it. That shift in identity is everything. It changes how you speak to yourself. It changes how you carry yourself. It changes what you believe is possible. And when you slip, and you will, you don't lie about it. You don't hide. You don't ignore it and hope it goes away. You stop. You look at what happened. You ask, why did I miss this? What broke down? What do I need to adjust? Then you move forward. That's how progress is built. Not through perfection, but through relentless honesty and constant adjustment. Without accountability, time gets wasted. You tell yourself you're working hard, but nothing changes. Weeks pass. Months pass. You get discouraged. Not because you can't succeed, but because you never had a clear picture of what you were doing in the first place. You thought effort was enough, but effort without direction is just motion. It feels like work, but it doesn't move you forward. Tracking and accountability give you the tools to lead yourself. They give you control. They help you say, this is what I said I'd do. Here's what I actually did. And here's what I'll do differently tomorrow. That kind of self-leadership builds power, not the loud kind, but the quiet, steady power that grows over time and doesn't fade. When you start holding yourself fully accountable, you stop blaming others. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop waiting for ideal circumstances. You become the kind of person who owns every part of their story, every decision, every mistake, every win. That ownership builds self-respect, and that self-respect becomes fuel. You don't need someone else to push you if you're already watching yourself. If you know that at the end of every day you're going to check in and evaluate what you did, you'll raise your standards. You'll tighten your focus. You'll move with purpose, because you know someone's watching, and that someone is you. And that's the most powerful person to answer to. This kind of personal responsibility isn't easy, but it's the foundation of every strong, meaningful life. When you track your progress, you stop guessing. When you hold yourself accountable, you stop drifting. You start seeing patterns. You start making better choices. You start growing for real. Not because you're perfect, but because you're aware. So don't just work hard, measure what matters. Don't just aim high, track your steps. Don't just want results, build a system that ensures them, and most importantly, never lie to yourself. Your life depends on your honesty, your consistency, and your willingness to face the truth. Every time you hold yourself accountable, you prove that you're ready for more. Every time you track your effort, you remind yourself that your goals aren't dreams, they're plans that are being built, one honest step at a time. Chapter 9. Remove toxic people and protect your mental space. You can't build a powerful life if your energy is constantly being drained by the wrong people. No matter how disciplined you are or how big your goals may be, if you're surrounded by individuals who bring confusion, drama, or negativity into your life, your progress will always feel heavier than it should. Toxic people don't just waste your time, they steal your clarity, your confidence, and your mental peace. And if you're serious about becoming your strongest self, you need to take full control of who gets access to you. It starts by getting honest about how you feel around certain people. Pay attention to the weight in your chest after a phone call. Notice the tension in your body when they walk into the room. Reflect on how often you feel belittled, dismissed, criticized, or exhausted after interactions. These are not small signals. These are the body's warnings that your mental space is being compromised. And the longer you tolerate it, the more damage it does, not just to your mood, but to your sense of worth. Some toxic people are obvious. They're loud, disrespectful, manipulative, and they thrive on conflict. But others are subtle. They pretend to support you, but make passive-aggressive remarks that chip away at your confidence. They laugh at your goals. They downplay your success. They only reach out when they need something. Over time, they become experts at making you feel guilty for setting boundaries, as if your growth is a personal attack on them. And unless you recognize this behavior for what it is, you'll keep shrinking yourself to maintain relationships that are built on imbalance. Protecting your mental space doesn't make you cold, it makes you wise. Not everyone deserves your presence. Not everyone should be allowed to influence your thoughts or emotions. If someone disrespects you consistently, you don't owe them access to your life. You don't need to explain your healing to those who benefit from your pain. And you don't have to stay connected just because of history. Time invested in someone does not equal a lifetime obligation to tolerate their chaos. Cutting ties isn't about revenge. It's about peace. When you remove someone toxic, you're not being cruel, you're being clear. You're choosing your well-being over emotional chaos. You're prioritizing your growth over comfort. You're making room for the right kind of people, those who support your vision, respect your boundaries, and bring calm instead of stress. Sometimes the hardest people to let go of are the ones closest to you. Family members, longtime friends, or even partners. But emotional closeness does not excuse toxicity. Just because someone has been in your life for a long time doesn't mean they deserve to stay. Growth requires decisions that are uncomfortable. And often, the biggest breakthroughs come right after the most difficult disconnections. You cannot evolve while keeping every relationship intact. Some ties must be cut so you can rise. You don't always have to make a dramatic exit. Sometimes you can distance yourself gradually. You can stop responding so quickly. You can shorten conversations. You can say no without an explanation. You can stop making excuses for their behavior. You can quietly withdraw your energy and attention, and as you do, you'll notice something powerful. Your mind becomes quieter. your focus returns, your energy lifts, because the people you keep around you are either fueling your growth or feeding your fears. There is no neutral. Protecting your mental space also means being mindful of what you allow in, what you watch, what you listen to, what you engage with online. But none of that matters if your everyday conversations are filled with bitterness, gossip, or resentment. You can meditate for an hour every morning, but if you're spending your day surrounded by emotionally draining people, your peace will evaporate by noon. The goal isn't just to escape toxicity once in a while, it's to build a life where it has no place. When you remove the wrong people, you make space for the right ones. You begin attracting relationships that align with who you're becoming, not who you used to be. You surround yourself with people who want to see you win, who speak life into your dreams, who hold you accountable without tearing you down. These relationships don't require you to perform or pretend. They allow you to be your full self without fear of being judged or used. You'll notice that when you're no longer carrying other people's emotional baggage, your own journey becomes lighter. You have more energy to focus on your goals. You sleep better. You feel more creative. You stop second-guessing your decisions. That's the power of reclaiming your mental space. It gives you back your mind. It gives you room to think clearly, act intentionally, and grow without constant resistance. And don't be surprised if people react when you start protecting yourself. Some will get defensive. Some will accuse you of being selfish. Some will try to guilt you back into old patterns. But their reaction is not your responsibility. Your only job is to live in alignment with your values. If someone gets upset because you set a healthy boundary, that's confirmation that the boundary was needed. You don't need permission to protect your peace. You don't need anyone to agree with your choices. You just need to be clear about what matters to you and act on it without hesitation. Because the longer you wait to remove toxic influences, the more they shape your identity. They cloud your decisions. They distort your view of yourself, and one day you wake up and realize that you've spent years living in reaction to someone else's dysfunction. That realization is painful, but it's also powerful, because it means you're finally ready to change. This isn't about being perfect, it's about being honest. Honest enough to say, this person is not good for me. Honest enough to choose growth over comfort. Honest enough to stop betraying yourself for the sake of harmony. You can love people and still walk away. You can care about someone and still create space. You can wish them well and still protect your peace. The real work of becoming your best self isn't just about what you do, it's about what you stop allowing. And one of the most courageous things you can ever do is to walk away from anything that threatens your mental freedom. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't have to stay loyal to pain. You deserve a life that feels calm, clear, and deeply aligned with your purpose. And that begins when you remove the noise and return to yourself. The people around you will either build your future with you or block it from unfolding. Choose wisely. Your mental space is sacred. Treat it like it matters. Because it does. Your future depends on the space you create, the energy you protect, and the people you allow in. Chapter 10. Train your mind to stay calm under pressure. When life applies pressure, most people react. They panic, they doubt, they lose control. But those who rise above, those who lead, those who win, they respond with calm. That calm isn't natural. It's trained. It's built through discipline, through awareness, through the decision to remain composed, no matter what's happening outside. A strong mind doesn't emerge by accident. It's developed in the moments when everything feels uncertain, yet you choose not to collapse. You choose to breathe, to focus, to stay centered when the ground beneath you shifts. Pressure exposes what's real. It doesn't create weakness, it reveals it. The same is true for strength. Under stress, your mind will default to its most practiced habits. So the question is, what have you been practicing? If you constantly give in to anxiety, if you allow every obstacle to shake your confidence, then chaos will be your default state. But if you deliberately train yourself to pause, to observe, to respond with clarity, then even in crisis you will think clearly, you will move with intention, not desperation. Training your mind begins with watching your thoughts, without becoming them. When something stressful happens, most people react without awareness. They allow the story in their head to run wild. This is terrible, I can't fix this, everything is ruined. But none of those thoughts are facts, they're interpretations. If you can interrupt that pattern and simply witness what's happening, you gain power. You no longer become a slave to panic, you become the master of your response. Calm under pressure isn't about pretending everything is okay. It's about holding steady while you face reality. It's about knowing that your emotions don't have to control your actions, that your fear can rise, but it doesn't have to lead. You can feel discomfort and still remain in control of your next step. You can have doubts and still move forward with a clear head. That inner balance, that discipline, it's a skill, and like any skill, it can be sharpened. Start with your breath. When pressure builds, your breath becomes shallow. Your nervous system goes into survival mode. But if you can anchor yourself to deep, intentional breathing, you begin to calm your body first, and then your mind follows. 3 slow inhales. 3 steady exhales. In those moments, you are not escaping the pressure, you are grounding yourself in it. You are saying to your nervous system, we're safe, we're handling this, and that shifts everything. Pressure loves to make things feel urgent. It convinces you that you must act now, solve it now, fix everything immediately. But often, the most powerful move is to wait, to observe, to refuse the urgency and instead choose clarity. Not everything needs an instant reaction. Not every challenge is a crisis. Sometimes, calm is the most strategic choice you can make. It buys you time. It keeps your thinking clean. It protects you from making emotional mistakes that cause long-term damage. Mental strength also comes from perspective. Pressure tricks you into believing this moment is the end, that it's all or nothing. But if you zoom out, most of what you worry about now will not matter in a year, or even a month. What does matter is how you handle it. The strength you build in facing this storm will be with you long after it's passed. So train yourself to look beyond the current difficulty. Ask yourself, what will this teach me? Who will I become by staying steady right now? That shift in focus gives you power. It's also important to create habits that prepare you for pressure before it arrives. Don't wait until things fall apart to start building mental control. Practice it daily. Meditate in the morning, not to feel spiritual, but to train your attention. Reflect on your decisions, not to judge yourself, but to develop awareness. Expose yourself to controlled discomfort, cold showers, tough workouts, hard conversations, so that your system learns how to remain stable in the presence of challenge. That's how you build resilience that doesn't vanish under stress. When the pressure does come, you'll be able to lean on those habits. You'll find that you don't have to force calm. It emerges because you've trained for it. You don't get shaken as easily. You don't lose your center just because things aren't going your way. And that makes you powerful in a way most people will never understand. Because in a world where everyone is reactive, the one who stays calm becomes the one who leads. Your mind is always learning from your behavior. Every time you give in to panic, your mind remembers. Every time you choose calm, even for a moment, it takes note. Over time, those choices compound. You either become someone who breaks under pressure or someone who holds firm. Not because the pressure is easy, but because you've decided that no external situation is more powerful than your internal stability. Being calm doesn't mean being passive. It means you respond rather than react. You're not frozen, you're deliberate. You don't rush, you move with clarity. That energy is rare, and it's respected. People trust those who don't fall apart when things go wrong. They look to those who can think clearly while others are overwhelmed. That calm becomes a strength that benefits every area of your life, in business, in relationships, in health, in leadership. To stay calm under pressure, you must also let go of the illusion of control. Most pressure comes from trying to force outcomes, but when you accept that you can only control your thoughts, your actions, and your energy, you release the rest. And in that release, you find freedom. You realize that no matter what happens, you will handle it. Not because you're fearless, but because you've trained yourself to stay rooted. To not let the waves of life throw you off balance. People spend so much time trying to eliminate stress, but the goal is not a life without pressure. The goal is to become the kind of person who doesn't crumble under it, who sees stress and uses it, who faces difficulty and stays present, who knows how to return to calm without needing perfect conditions. That's real mastery. That's the mindset that builds unshakable character. So every time life tests you, be it through setbacks, deadlines, conflict, or chaos, use it. Let it be your training ground. See every moment of pressure as a chance to sharpen your mind. Breathe deeper. Speak slower. Move intentionally. And remind yourself that no storm can break you when you know how to stand still within it. Calm is not weakness. It's proof that you've built strength where it matters most within. Chapter 11. Choose solitude and learn to love being alone. Most people are afraid of being alone. They fill their schedules, their homes and their minds with distractions, so they never have to sit in silence. But the truth is, until you learn to be alone with yourself, you'll never know who you really are. Solitude isn't loneliness. It's a choice. It's the conscious decision to step away from the noise so you can hear your own thoughts clearly. It's where clarity lives, where self-respect grows, and where your power is restored. You don't have to fear being alone. You just have to learn how to appreciate it. When you choose solitude, you give yourself permission to reflect without judgment, to feel without interruption, and to reconnect with the part of you that the world constantly pulls away from. You no longer wait for others to validate your worth or define your direction. Instead, you become grounded in your own truth. You learn to sit with your discomfort, face your doubts, and process your emotions without needing anyone to hold your hand. This independence is not cold, it's strong, it's honest, and it teaches you that you are not empty just because you are not surrounded. In solitude, your mind has space to wander, to question, to dream. You're not being pulled in 10 directions. You're not reacting to someone else's mood or opinions. You can finally hear your intuition. You can sit with a feeling and ask it where it's coming from instead of distracting yourself from it. This is where growth happens, not in the noise, but in the stillness. Not when you're constantly engaging with the world, but when you step back and observe it from a quiet distance. Learning to love being alone requires that you stop fearing your own company. That means letting go of the belief that silence means something's wrong. Silence is not a punishment, it's a mirror. And yes, what you see at first may be uncomfortable. Maybe you notice the thoughts you've been avoiding. Maybe you feel emotions that are messy or heavy. But facing those things is how you heal. It's how you begin to live with more honesty and less confusion. The people who fear solitude the most are often the ones running from themselves. But the moment you stop running, something shifts. You realize that you don't need constant interaction to feel alive. You don't need to be validated by others to feel seen. You don't need to explain yourself to be at peace. Instead, you begin to find joy in your own presence. You start doing things just for you, not to impress, not to perform, but to nourish yourself. You walk alone not because you have to, but because it brings you closer to your center. That kind of confidence can't be faked. It's built from the inside out. Solitude also sharpens your decisions. When you're alone, you're not swayed by the opinions of others. You make choices based on your values, your goals, your gut. And when things go wrong, you take full responsibility because you weren't following a crowd. This level of personal accountability is rare, but it gives you peace. Because no matter what happens, you know that you acted from your own truth, not someone else's pressure. There is a quiet kind of freedom that only solitude gives. You move through your day with more intention. You notice things others miss. You hear the wind, feel the sun, and actually taste your food. You are present, not rushing from one thing to the next. That presence isn't just about enjoying the moment. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, your attention. In solitude, you begin to realize how much of your life you were giving away to people who didn't value it, and now you take it back. When you love being alone, you also become more selective with the people you let in. You're no longer desperate for company, so you're not afraid to walk away from shallow conversations or one-sided relationships. You don't tolerate disrespect just to avoid being by yourself. Your standards rise, not out of arrogance, but out of self-respect. And because you're comfortable on your own, you can love others without needing them to complete you. You bring a full person into every relationship, not a half that's looking to be filled. Solitude isn't isolation. It's not about cutting people off or building walls around your heart. It's about strengthening your connection to yourself so you can connect with others in a healthier way. When you know who you are without the noise, you show up in the world with more clarity and less fear. You stop chasing approval. You stop trying to please everyone. You simply live in alignment with who you truly are. And that authenticity draws in the right people while pushing away the wrong ones. Being alone also allows you to reset. Life can wear you down. Constant interactions, obligations, and expectations can drain you. But when you choose solitude, even for a short time, you recharge, you recalibrate. You remind yourself of what matters. You become still enough to notice what your spirit is asking for. That stillness is not empty. It's restorative. It's where your resilience rebuilds and your vision becomes sharp again. To learn to love being alone, you must practice it. Not just once, but consistently. Start by setting aside time for yourself each day, not out of guilt, but out of respect. Sit in silence. Go for a walk without music. Write down your thoughts. Ask yourself hard questions. Reflect on your patterns. This isn't about productivity, it's about presence. About showing up for yourself the way you often show up for others. You'll notice something beautiful start to happen. Your anxiety begins to fade. Your confidence starts to grow. You stop comparing yourself to others because you're not always looking at what everyone else is doing. Instead, you're building a life that fits you, not one designed to impress. You find comfort in your own rhythm, and your joy becomes rooted in something deeper than attention or praise. Eventually, solitude becomes something you crave, not something you fear. It becomes a sacred space where you return to yourself, where you remember your power, your purpose, your peace. It's no longer lonely, it's liberating. And once you've tasted that kind of self-connection, you'll never again settle for anything that costs you your inner clarity. So don't run from being alone. Don't try to fill every silence. Instead, lean into it. Listen, feel, learn. Trust that within that quiet space, the strongest version of you is waiting, not someone you need to become, but someone you've always been. Someone you can finally hear now that the world has gone quiet. That is the gift of solitude. Not emptiness, but wholeness. Not withdrawal, but return. And when you choose it with intention, you unlock a strength that can't be shaken by anyone or anything outside of you. Chapter 12. Develop unshakable discipline through small daily wins. Discipline is not something you're born with. It's not something you suddenly wake up having one morning. It's built slowly, intentionally, through actions that seem small but are anything but insignificant. If you want to develop unshakable discipline, you start with one win, one choice to rise early instead of sleeping in, one moment where you do the task even though you don't feel like it, one time you show up for yourself without excuses. These are not grand gestures. These are the quiet victories that compound and eventually change everything. The problem is, most people wait for motivation to strike before they act. They think they need to feel ready, inspired, or confident. But discipline doesn't depend on how you feel. It's about doing what needs to be done, regardless of mood, convenience, or comfort. And the only way to build that kind of internal strength is to prove to yourself day after day that you can follow through, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. You don't become disciplined by setting massive goals and hoping they force you into action. You become disciplined by choosing small, manageable commitments and honoring them with consistency. These are your daily wins. Drinking water before coffee. Finishing what you start. Turning off distractions when it's time to work. Each time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce the idea that you are reliable. You build evidence that you can be trusted with your own goals. That's the foundation of real confidence. Not talk, but proof. Discipline doesn't feel like fireworks. It's not dramatic or flashy. Most of the time, it's boring, it's repetitive, it's doing the right thing long after the excitement has worn off. But in that repetition, something powerful begins to form. You start creating systems that carry you forward when motivation fades. You build habits that become part of your identity. Eventually, it's not a matter of whether you'll follow through, it's just who you are now. The beauty of small wins is that they remove the overwhelm. You don't need to change your whole life overnight. You just need to win the morning, then the afternoon, then the evening. One block at a time, one task at a time. You stop trying to conquer the mountain and instead focus on the next step. That shift in thinking eliminates procrastination. You're not frozen by the size of the challenge. You're focused on what's right in front of you. Over time, these little victories build momentum, and with enough momentum, the behaviors that used to feel like effort begin to feel like second nature. You don't have to fight yourself every day. You don't have to constantly argue with your impulses. Discipline becomes automatic because you've rewired your response patterns. Your new normal becomes execution, not hesitation. But here's what people often miss. The key isn't perfection, it's consistency. You will mess up. You will skip a task, break a streak, or fall short some days. That doesn't ruin your discipline. What matters is that you come back. You reset. You recommit. That ability to bounce back quickly, that's what separates the disciplined from the undisciplined. It's not about never falling, it's about never staying down. When you keep showing up for the small things, You develop inner strength that can't be shaken by outside circumstances. You're no longer at the mercy of distraction, delay, or emotion. You take control of your choices, even when the world around you is chaotic. That control isn't rigid, it's freeing, because it means you don't rely on perfect conditions. You carry your discipline with you wherever you go. The best part? The wins that feel small at first begin to create massive ripple effects. You start waking up earlier, and suddenly your mornings feel calm and productive. You cut out a bad habit, and your energy improves. You write for 10 minutes a day, and months later you've finished a full manuscript. None of it happens all at once, but all of it starts with tiny choices done repeatedly. Discipline also changes the way you see yourself. When you know you can follow through, your self-respect grows. You stop making excuses because you know you're capable. You stop blaming circumstances because you trust your own actions. That self-trust is powerful. It becomes the anchor that keeps you steady in the face of difficulty. It becomes the voice that says, "You've handled worse. Keep going." Some days, your discipline will feel effortless. Other days, it will feel like a grind. That's normal. The goal is not to enjoy the process every time. The goal is to honor the process every time. To act based on your values, not your feelings. To execute even when no one's watching. That's where the real strength lies, in what you do when no one else is clapping. If you want to build discipline, stop chasing quick results. Stop looking for shortcuts. Instead, fall in love with the process of showing up. Start tracking your wins, not to show off, but to remind yourself of your own consistency. Celebrate the boring days. That's where the transformation happens. That's where the real work is done. You don't need a perfect plan to begin. You need a reason, and then you need repetition. Start small, make it simple. Do it daily. Let the wins accumulate. Let the progress compound. Trust the process even when it feels slow, because if you stay with it long enough, you won't just build discipline, you'll become disciplined. And once that becomes part of who you are, nothing can stop you. Chapter 13. Set clear goals and follow through without excuses. Most people don't fail because they lack talent or opportunity. They fail because they don't set clear goals and commit to them with complete honesty. A vague dream without a defined target is just a wish. You can't hit a target you can't see. You can't follow through on an idea that lives only in your imagination. If you want to change your life, you must start by deciding exactly what you want, writing it down, and then refusing to give yourself permission to make excuses. When your goals are clear, your mind becomes focused. You begin to move with intention. You stop wasting energy on distractions and start making decisions that align with your objective. That clarity gives you direction. It eliminates confusion. You no longer wander aimlessly, hoping things will work out. You choose the path, and you walk it with purpose. But clarity doesn't just appear. You have to create it. You have to sit with yourself, be honest about what matters, and strip away what's not aligned. Without clarity, it's easy to fall into the trap of busyness. You feel like you're working hard, but nothing is really changing. You cross off tasks, but you never make real progress. That's what happens when you don't define what success looks like for you. When you set a clear goal, it becomes a measuring stick for your actions. Every choice you make is either moving you closer or pulling you further away. And when you're honest about that, you can't lie to yourself anymore. You can't pretend scrolling your phone for an hour is harmless. You can't act like procrastination is just rest. You see your behavior for what it is, either progress or avoidance. Setting clear goals also forces you to take ownership. It puts the responsibility in your hands, where it belongs. You stop blaming other people, external events, or bad timing. You stop telling yourself stories about why it's harder for you. That shift, taking full responsibility for your outcomes, is what transforms your mindset. It gives you the power to act, adapt, and improve, instead of waiting for something to change on its own. But clarity alone is not enough. Once you set a goal, the real work begins. Following through without excuses. This is where most people break down. They want the results, but they don't want the discomfort that comes with the process. They want change, but they hesitate when it requires sacrifice. They justify delay with reasons that sound logical but are actually fear in disguise. Excuses are the most subtle form of self-sabotage. They give you temporary relief while stealing your long-term progress. They feel protective, but they're destructive. They're the stories you tell yourself to feel okay about staying stuck, and the more you believe them, the harder it becomes to break free from them. That's why you have to stop negotiating with your goals. You have to remove maybe from your vocabulary and replace it with must. When you remove excuses, your only option is action. You stop giving yourself permission to delay. You stop waiting for the perfect conditions. You stop telling yourself it's not the right time. You decide that now is the time, and then you move. That level of follow-through isn't about being superhuman. It's about refusing to accept your own limitations as truth. It's about catching yourself in the moment when the excuse starts forming, and choosing to act anyway. Sometimes, follow-through means showing up, even when you feel tired. Sometimes, it means doing the work even when no one will see it. Sometimes, it means adjusting your plan when things go wrong, but never walking away from your goal. It means you're committed to the outcome, not just when it's convenient, but especially when it's difficult. That's what separates those who achieve their goals from those who just talk about them. The truth is, your mind will always offer you a way out. It will always try to protect you from discomfort. But you're not here to be comfortable. You're here to grow. Growth demands effort. It requires you to stretch beyond what feels easy. And when you follow through on your goals, day after day, in the face of doubt, delay, and difficulty, you begin to see yourself differently. You build a sense of identity that says, I finish what I start. This is not about forcing yourself through life with no rest or compassion. It's about being clear on what you want and becoming disciplined enough to chase it relentlessly. It's about making a decision that no matter how slow it feels, you will not quit. You will not get in your own way anymore. You will show up and do the work, even when it's boring, even when no one claps, even when you'd rather escape. You don't need to wait for motivation. You need a reason. A reason strong enough to get you up when it's easier to lie down. A reason big enough to silence every excuse you've ever made. That reason is your responsibility to yourself. To live a life you can respect. To stop wasting time. To stop hiding behind your doubts. And finally step into who you were meant to be. You don't need to make giant leaps. You need to move forward one step at a time, with clarity, with consistency, and with courage. Set the goal, break it down, take the next action, then do it again, and again, until one day, the thing you dreamed of is no longer a dream. It's your new reality, not because it was easy, but because you followed through. No excuses, just action. Relentless, committed, focused action. That's the life you build when you stop making excuses. That's the person you become when you learn to mean what you say. When your goals are no longer vague ideas but non-negotiable standards. Everything changes. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to respect yourself. You begin to realize that the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the story you've been telling yourself. And once you rewrite that story with clarity and commitment, there's nothing you can't do. Chapter 14. Master your emotions instead of reacting to life. Most people go through life being ruled by emotions they barely understand. They get angry and act without thinking. They get disappointed and shut down. They feel fear and immediately pull back. What they don't realize is that reacting to every emotion without reflection creates chaos, not control. Life isn't about eliminating emotions. It's about learning how to experience them without letting them dominate your behavior. When you master your emotions, you don't suppress them. You understand them. You listen to what they're trying to tell you without letting them dictate your next move. You pause. You process. Then you decide with clarity. Emotional mastery doesn't mean you don't feel frustration or sadness or anxiety. It means you stop letting those feelings hijack your actions. You learn how to sit with discomfort without being consumed by it. You stop being a slave to your triggers and start becoming the one who chooses how to respond. That kind of control gives you an edge. It allows you to stay grounded when others lose their grip. It gives you clarity when everyone else is reacting from impulse. That's not coldness, it's strength. It's wisdom earned from choosing not to react blindly to every emotional wave. Most people live in reaction mode. They wait for something to happen and then respond without thinking. Someone criticizes them and they immediately lash out. Something doesn't go their way and they spiral into negativity. Their emotions decide everything for them. Their confidence, their decisions, their ability to stay consistent. That's a dangerous way to load because it hands over your power to every external circumstance. If you want to take back control of your life, you must stop living from reaction and start living from intention. Every emotion you feel is valid, but not every emotional reaction is wise. Just because you feel something doesn't mean it's the truth. Just because you're hurt doesn't mean you're right. Emotional maturity is knowing that your feelings are real, but they aren't always reality. You need to learn to examine your emotions, not be defined by them. Why did that situation trigger you? Why did that word bother you so much? What story are you telling yourself in your mind that's fueling this emotional response? When you begin asking those questions, you build self-awareness, and with self-awareness comes freedom. You no longer believe every thought. You no longer chase every emotional impulse. You begin to create space between what you feel and what you do. That space is where power lives. That space is where growth begins. Because in that space you get to choose, do I react or do I rise above it? Emotional strength isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. You build it every time you choose to stay calm in a storm. Every time you choose to reflect before you respond. Every time you acknowledge your emotions without letting them derail your focus. Emotional strength is built in the moments when it would be easier to explode, to blame, or to run away, but instead you stay present and grounded. One of the most important habits you can develop is learning how to slow down when emotions run high. Don't rush to speak. Don't rush to act. Don't rush to explain. Let the emotion come and let it pass through. Take a deep breath. Get quiet. Don't trust your first emotional reaction. Most emotional mistakes happen in those first few seconds of heat, when you speak out of anger, decide out of fear, or quit out of frustration. But if you wait, if you breathe, if you reflect, you often realize the truth is quieter than the chaos. Most people have never been taught how to manage their emotions. They were either told to suppress them or let them loose. Neither of those extremes leads to mastery. Mastery is about balance. It's about honesty without impulsiveness. It's about feeling fully without falling apart. You can acknowledge pain without drowning in it. You can express frustration without causing harm. You can feel uncertain without giving up. That's emotional mastery, not control in the rigid sense, but control in the sense of wisdom and intention. One powerful way to master your emotions is to train yourself to focus on what you can control. When you're overwhelmed, ask, what part of this is within my power? Often we suffer most when we obsess over things outside our influence. What other people think, what might go wrong, what we can't predict. But when you shift your focus to your own choices, your own response, your own next step, you begin to feel stronger. That's where confidence comes from. Not from the absence of difficulty, but from the awareness that no matter what happens, you will handle it with clarity. Mastering your emotions also means setting emotional boundaries. It means not absorbing the chaos of other people. It means knowing that you can offer compassion without becoming consumed by someone else's energy. Not every conflict is yours to fix. Not every mood is yours to match. You can be kind without being manipulated. You can be present without losing your peace. The more you protect your emotional space, the more you'll be able to think clearly and act with purpose. Self-mastery starts with emotional mastery. If you can't handle your emotions, you'll never handle pressure, setbacks, or success. You'll sabotage your own progress the moment things get uncomfortable. You'll say things you regret. You'll give up when things get hard. You'll burn bridges you could have crossed. That's why emotional growth is not optional, it's essential. And the truth is, the more you grow emotionally, the more powerful you become. You stop reacting to life like a victim. You stop needing everyone to behave a certain way in order for you to be okay. You stop blaming your past or your pain for your present choices. You own your mind. You own your actions. You become steady in chaos. That steadiness is what separates those who thrive from those who crumble. This is not about perfection. You will still feel frustration. You will still have moments where emotions hit you hard. But mastery is not about never feeling, it's about never being ruled. It's about never letting a temporary emotion destroy a permanent relationship, opportunity, or decision. You learn to wait. You learn to think. You learn to lead yourself. And as you practice this emotional discipline day by day, you begin to experience life from a place of strength, not survival. You build confidence, not by pretending to be unshaken, but by staying grounded through every storm. You become a person who no longer reacts to life. You respond to it, and that changes everything. Chapter 15. Practice self-honesty and stop lying to yourself. One of the hardest things you'll ever do is face yourself without filters, excuses, or masks. Most people avoid the truth about themselves not because they don't know it, but because they're afraid of what it means. They avoid the mirror. They avoid the silence. They fill their time, their thoughts, and their lives with distractions so they never have to confront what's real. But the price of that avoidance is high. Every lie you tell yourself delays your progress. Every excuse you cling to keeps you stuck. You cannot grow into your potential if you're hiding from the reality of who you are right now. Self-honesty is the foundation of real change. Without it, every goal becomes fantasy. Every plan becomes empty. You can't fix what you won't admit is broken. You can't improve what you pretend is fine. You can't move forward while you're still holding on to the lies that comfort you more than the truth that could set you free. Telling yourself the truth isn't about shaming yourself. It's about freeing yourself. It's about becoming someone who no longer runs from what's hard to hear. Lying to yourself is a habit. It starts small, promising you'll start tomorrow, saying it's not that bad, convincing yourself that you're trying your best when deep down you know you're not. These lies pile up slowly until you lose touch with your own standards. You start believing your excuses. You start justifying your inaction. You begin to build a life that looks acceptable on the surface but feels hollow underneath. And the worst part is, you become someone you can't trust. You say you'll do something, and then you don't. You promise yourself change, but nothing happens. Slowly your confidence erodes, not because you failed, but because you lied about what you were truly willing to do. The first step to reclaiming your power is to stop lying to yourself about your efforts, your discipline, your priorities. Be brutally honest about how much time you waste. Be honest about how often you choose comfort over commitment. Be honest about the ways you avoid responsibility and shift blame. Self-honesty requires courage, not because the truth is unbearable, but because it demands change, and change is uncomfortable. But discomfort is not the enemy. Deception is. Every lie keeps you safe from change, but stuck in misery. It's easy to say things like, "I don't have time," "I'm just not ready," or "I've tried everything," but ask yourself, are those statements true, or are they just easy ways out? Have you really used every hour wisely? Have you truly given your all? Have you faced your fears, or have you avoided the things that would require you to stretch beyond what feels familiar? Most people aren't lacking in opportunity, they're lacking in honesty. The progress you want doesn't require perfection. It requires truth. Raw, unfiltered truth. Self-honesty also means accepting your role in your pain. You may not be responsible for everything that happened to you, but you are responsible for how long you let it control you. You are responsible for the choices you make today. Blaming others might feel justified, but it won't give you power. Owning your behavior will. You cannot become stronger if your energy is focused on defending your weaknesses. Growth starts the moment you stop pretending you're doing everything right. You have to look at your results, not your intentions, not your hopes, your results. That's where the truth lives. If your life isn't improving, if your habits aren't consistent, if your goals aren't being met, something needs to change, and that something usually starts with you. It's not about being harsh with yourself. It's about being honest enough to break the cycle of denial. It's about confronting the difference between who you say you are and how you actually live. This is not about guilt. It's about ownership. You can love yourself and still admit where you're falling short. In fact, that's what real self-love looks like. It's not comfort at all costs. It's choosing growth, even when it hurts. It's holding yourself to a higher standard because you believe in your potential more than your excuses. That kind of self-honesty builds strength. It builds trust. It builds a foundation that doesn't crumble under pressure. When you practice self-honesty, you stop needing approval. You stop needing validation. You no longer have to convince others of anything because you've already faced the truth inside. You know who you are. You know what needs work. You know where you've lied to yourself in the past, and you've decided not to repeat it. That decision creates alignment. Your words match your actions. Your standards match your behavior, and your confidence grows. Not because life gets easier, but because you're no longer hiding. If you're tired of starting over, tired of feeling stuck, tired of wondering why things don't change, ask yourself what lies you're still holding on to. Are you pretending to be disciplined while secretly avoiding the hard work? Are you acting like you're focused while you're still addicted to distractions? Are you claiming to want success while living in fear of doing what success requires? These questions are uncomfortable, but they're necessary. because until you answer them honestly, you'll keep spinning in circles. Start telling yourself the truth about what you want, what you fear, what you're willing to do, and what you've avoided. Tell the truth even when it's ugly, even when it challenges your identity, even when it hurts your pride. That truth will break you open in the best way. It will force you to shed what's false. It will challenge your ego, but it will also awaken your real strength. You will start to see your patterns clearly, the ways you sabotage, procrastinate, rationalize, and once you see them, you can change them. You will no longer live in confusion because you will no longer live in denial. Clarity comes when you stop running from what's real. Peace comes when you stop living a lie. Self-honesty doesn't happen once. It's a daily practice. It's looking in the mirror each day and asking, am I being real with myself? Am I honoring my values? Am I following through? And if the answer is no, don't run. Don't explain it away. Own it. Learn from it. Adjust. That's how you build a life of integrity, one small truth at a time. You will not grow by pretending. You will grow by confronting. And the more you practice truth, the less power your fears will have. You'll stop needing to protect a false version of yourself. You'll stop needing to defend your excuses. You'll live with fewer regrets, because you'll be living from a place of honesty, not illusion. And in that space, transformation becomes possible. That's the real power of self-honesty. It leads to freedom. It leads to strength. And it leads you back to who you were meant to be before the lies began. Chapter 16. Strengthen your body with simple, consistent movement. Your body is the foundation of everything you do. It carries you through every challenge, every goal, every decision, and every new direction. You cannot build a meaningful, lasting life if your physical energy is constantly being drained by neglect. Your body is not a separate part of your success. It is the center of it. And the truth is, you don't need to follow extreme fitness trends or punish yourself with intense routines to build strength. You just need to commit to simple, consistent movement. That commitment can change everything. Most people overcomplicate it. They wait until they have the perfect routine, the best gym membership, or the ideal amount of time. But in that waiting, their health continues to decline. Movement is not something you do when everything aligns. It's something you do every day, even in small ways, because it gives you back your energy, your clarity, and your focus. The moment you stop seeing it as optional and start treating it as essential, your entire mindset begins to shift. You don't need to run marathons. You don't need to lift heavy weights. You don't even need to break a sweat every time. You just need to move, walk around the block, stretch your arms, get out of your chair, use your legs, breathe deeply, wake up your body from the inside out. Do it daily, not because it's glamorous or impressive, but because it's how you prove to yourself that you matter. When you move your body, you show yourself that you care enough to maintain what carries you through life. Consistency is the real power, not intensity. You don't build strength by overexerting yourself once a week. You build strength by showing up daily, even for 10 minutes. Movement becomes a habit when it becomes a non-negotiable part of your routine. And once it's part of your routine, it stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a lifeline. You begin to crave it. Not because of how you look, but because of how alive you feel afterward. When you neglect movement, your energy gets trapped. You feel sluggish. You become irritable. Your mind fogs up. You start to believe you're too tired to move. But in reality, your lack of movement is what's making you tired. The body needs circulation. It needs motion. It needs flow. Movement brings oxygen to your brain, strength to your limbs, and stability to your emotions. Without it, you're not just physically weaker, you're mentally and emotionally less resilient too. You may think you don't have time, but think about how much time you lose to exhaustion, procrastination, and lack of focus. A few minutes of movement can give you back hours of productivity. You may think you're too old, too busy, or too out of shape, but movement meets you where you are. You don't have to start from perfection. You just have to start. Your body is more adaptable than you think. It's waiting for you to give it direction. There's something powerful about choosing to move when no one's watching. It's not about showing off. It's about showing up for yourself, for your future. Every time you move your body, you send a message to your brain that you're still in control, that you're not giving up, that you're not going to settle for decline. Even if it's just a few steps, even if it's just light stretching, it counts, it matters. And when you do it often enough, you start to feel a quiet strength build within you. That strength is not just physical, it's psychological. It's the strength of discipline, of knowing that even when you don't feel like it, you do it anyway. It's the confidence that comes from keeping a promise to yourself. It's the momentum that comes from small wins. You start to trust yourself again. You start to believe in your ability to follow through. That belief spills into other parts of your life, your goals, your relationships, your mindset. It's all connected. When you strengthen your body, you strengthen your decisions. You don't snap as quickly. You don't feel as overwhelmed. You handle stress with more clarity. You recover from setbacks faster. Your body becomes a source of power rather than a limitation, and that power compounds over time. The walk you take today makes tomorrow easier. The habit you build this week creates resilience for the future. Stop waiting for motivation. Start moving with intention. Tie your shoes and go outside. Put on music and move in your room. Stretch when you wake up. Breathe deeply as you stand. Use stairs instead of elevators. Park farther away. Walk while you think. These little choices, repeated daily, do more for your long-term strength than any once-in-a-while big effort ever could. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to support yourself. The way you treat your body tells the truth about how seriously you take your future. Neglect tells your body you've given up. Movement tells your body you're still fighting for more. That message becomes internalized. It becomes a quiet form of dignity. It becomes a way of saying, I may not control everything, but I control this. The strength you build through consistent movement isn't always visible in the mirror. Sometimes it's in your posture, in your energy, in your ability to handle tough days without falling apart. It shows up in your breathing, in your patience, in your sleep, in your ability to focus. These are the markers of real strength, and they are built through ordinary effort, done consistently. You don't need to get it perfect. You don't need a perfect schedule, perfect weather, or perfect clothes. What you need is a decision. A decision to treat your body like an ally, a decision to show up even in small ways and make movement part of your identity. You're not trying to be someone else, you're trying to be the best version of yourself. And that version starts with honoring the body you live in. You have one body, one vessel, one engine that carries everything you think, feel, and do. Don't wait for a wake-up call. Don't wait for the pain to get worse. Start now. Start with what you can do. Be consistent with what's manageable. You'll be surprised how quickly momentum builds when you stay committed to simple, steady movement. Movement is not about punishing yourself for being out of shape. It's about proving to yourself that you're worth the effort, that you're worth the time, that your health matters because your life matters. You can't give your best if your body is constantly depleted, and you don't have to earn the right to move. It's your birthright. It's your responsibility. It's also your opportunity to reconnect with the strength you already have inside you. Choose movement because you choose life, because you choose energy, because you choose to be fully present for every moment you're given. You can't build a meaningful future without a body that can carry you there. So take care of it, strengthen it, move it, every day, without excuses, without waiting. Just one step at a time, one breath at a time, and over time, that decision becomes your strength. Not all at once, but consistently, quietly, powerfully, for life. Chapter 17. Read daily and feed your mind with truth. Your mind is the command center of your life. Every decision you make, every belief you hold, every feeling you carry, it all begins with your thoughts. And what you expose your mind to each day determines the quality of those thoughts. If you want to create clarity, direction, and resilience in your life, you must feed your mind with truth, not noise. And one of the simplest, most powerful ways to do that is through daily reading. Reading is not just a habit, it's a discipline. It requires you to slow down, to focus, to open your mind to something greater than your current understanding. It invites you into a conversation with thinkers who've seen life through a different lens, and when you read consistently, you begin to think in deeper, clearer patterns. You begin to question the lies you've believed. You begin to see where your perspective needs sharpening. It's not just about gathering facts, it's about transforming your internal world. The average person spends hours each day absorbing empty content, scrolling endlessly, consuming shallow entertainment, and reacting to headlines designed to provoke rather than enlighten. It's not that information is scarce, it's that most of it lacks substance. Most of it clutters the mind instead of clearing it. But when you choose to read something meaningful each day, you take control. You stop letting the world decide what you think about, and start choosing what thoughts you want to grow. Reading challenges your comfort zone. It confronts your assumptions. It invites you to wrestle with ideas that are bigger than you, and this is exactly what growth requires. If you never question your own thinking, you stay trapped in the same cycles, making the same mistakes, believing the same limitations. But the right book, read with intention, can break that cycle. It can shift your identity, your standards, and your sense of what's possible. Feeding your mind with truth means exposing yourself to knowledge that isn't filtered through fear, ego, or manipulation. It means learning from people who've lived with courage and clarity. It means studying principles that don't change with trends. And it means building a foundation of thought strong enough to withstand the chaos of life. When the world shakes, your mind shouldn't crumble with it. But that kind of mental strength must be built intentionally. Every page you read is an act of mental conditioning. It's a choice to focus when distraction is easier. It's a way of strengthening your ability to think deeply, to understand context, to draw connections. Most people don't fail because of a lack of motivation. They fail because their mind is too weak to support sustained action. But when your thoughts are shaped by timeless truths, you build the kind of inner structure that can carry weight. You make decisions from clarity, not confusion. Some people say they don't have time to read, but the truth is, they don't prioritize their mind. They wake up and immediately hand their attention to the loudest voice. And that voice rarely speaks truth. It usually speaks urgency, drama, or fear. But when you wake up and read, even for a few minutes, you take ownership of your mental environment. You plant seeds that grow throughout the day. You fill your mind with something real before the noise has a chance to define your mood. You don't need to read for hours. You don't need to finish a book in one sitting. You just need to do it every day. Consistency is more important than volume. One good idea read slowly and understood deeply is worth more than 100 skimmed pages. Don't treat reading like a task to check off. Treat it like a daily appointment with wisdom. Give it your full attention. Read not just with your eyes, but with your heart. Let the words challenge you, inspire you, and shape you. And it's not about reading what's popular, it's about reading what's powerful. Books that tell the truth. Books that build character. Books that sharpen your thinking. Books that teach you how to live with purpose. Seek out those voices, the authors who don't flatter you but confront you. The writers who care more about truth than trends. The ones who've lived what they teach. Fill your shelves and your soul with that kind of input. Reading isn't just about knowledge, it's about alignment. When you read the right material, you realign your thoughts with principles that bring order to chaos. You remind yourself of what matters. You reset your perspective. In a world that constantly pulls your attention in 100 directions, reading recenters you. It draws you back to the core. It helps you quiet the noise and listen to what's true. Over time, your mind becomes what you feed it. If you feed it with distraction, you become scattered. If you feed it with lies, you become anxious. If you feed it with truth, you become grounded. You start to recognize which thoughts are helpful and which are harmful. You start to think critically. You build a filter that protects you from deception. You stop falling for every shiny idea because your foundation is solid. You're not easily swayed. You're not easy to fool. That kind of discernment is built, not given. Daily reading builds self-respect. Because when you feed your mind with truth, you treat your future seriously. You stop drifting. You stop waiting for answers to fall into your lap. You go and seek them. You ask better questions. You upgrade your internal dialogue. You begin to lead yourself instead of following the crowd. That's what strong minds do. They lead from within. They don't wait for the world to hand them clarity. They go out and find it. The longer you read daily, the more you'll notice how your language changes, how your focus sharpens, how your confidence deepens. You'll start to hear the lies you used to believe and dismiss them. You'll catch the excuses you used to accept and replace them. You'll become more selective with what you let into your mental space, because now you know the cost of letting garbage thoughts run your life. And the beauty is, you're never too late to start. Whether you've read nothing in years or you're already a lifelong learner, there's always more to gain. There's always more clarity to uncover. There's always a deeper level of truth waiting to meet you on the next page. You don't have to be the smartest. You just have to be committed. Daily reading isn't about showing off. It's about showing up for yourself, for your mind, for your future. So start today. Pick up a book that challenges you to grow. Read not to escape your life, but to expand it. Read to build strength in your thinking. Read to feed your mind with clarity, wisdom, and truth. And do it daily. Not when you feel like it. Not when it's easy. Do it because your mind is your most valuable asset. And what you put into it every single day will eventually shape everything you become. Chapter 18. Say no often and respect your own boundaries. Most people are afraid to say no because they fear being disliked, misunderstood, or left out. But a life built around constant agreement is a life that slowly drifts away from authenticity. Every time you say yes when you mean no, a part of you is silenced. Not because the other person is wrong, but because you're placing their comfort above your own truth. And when you do that long enough, you begin to forget what you even wanted in the first place. You lose the ability to hear your own voice, buried under layers of obligation. Learning to say no is not about rejecting people. It's about choosing yourself. It's about being clear on what matters to you and standing by it, even when it's uncomfortable. Boundaries aren't walls. They are filters. They help you protect your time, your peace, your energy, and your emotional well-being. When you don't set limits, you invite chaos. Not because people want to harm you, but because people will always take what you don't protect. It's not their job to guess what's too much. It's yours to speak it. You don't owe anyone constant access to you. Your time is not infinite. Your attention is not a free resource. When you begin valuing these things, you stop giving them away so easily. You begin to realize that not every call must be answered. Not every invitation needs your presence. Not every demand is your responsibility. And the moment you realize this, you step into a new kind of power, not loud or aggressive, but steady and deeply grounded. People may not like your boundaries at first. Some may even push back, but that resistance is often a sign that the limits are needed. If someone benefits from your lack of boundaries, they will struggle when you create them. But that's not a reason to back down. That's a reason to hold firm. Respecting yourself might cost you some relationships, but it will return you to yourself, and that return is priceless. You can be kind and still say no. You can be loving and still protect your time. You can care about people without sacrificing your own emotional space. These things are not in conflict. They are signs of maturity. When you begin making decisions from a place of self-respect, everything changes. You stop chasing validation. You stop explaining yourself to people who have already made up their minds. You stop exhausting yourself trying to be everything to everyone. Boundaries bring clarity. They reveal who respects you and who only wants access to you on their terms. And once you see that, you can no longer pretend. You start choosing peace over pressure. You start choosing rest over resentment. You stop trying to please people who never notice your efforts, and instead you focus on showing up for yourself consistently and honestly. That's where real confidence grows, not in how much you do for others, but in how willing you are to do what's right for you. It's okay to disappoint people. You're not here to carry the weight of everyone's expectations. You're here to live in alignment with your values. You can say no without guilt. You can say no without explanation. You can say no and still be a good person. The world may have taught you that being agreeable is noble, but there's a deeper strength in discernment. Not everything is meant for you. Not every request deserves your time. The ability to say no is not selfish, it's self-aware. The more you practice saying no, the more natural it becomes. At first, it feels foreign. You second-guess yourself. You replay conversations. You wonder if you were too harsh. But over time, you begin to trust yourself more. You begin to see how much lighter your life feels when you're not stretched thin. You begin to experience the kind of freedom that only comes from choosing yourself without apology. That freedom is not loud or dramatic. It's quiet, it's calm, and it's deeply fulfilling. No is a complete sentence. It doesn't require a backstory. You don't need to justify your decisions to anyone who doesn't respect your right to make them. You have permission to change your mind. You have permission to walk away from what drains you. You have permission to put your well-being first. Saying no might not win you popularity, but it will earn you inner peace, and that's a trade worth making. Think of how much time you've lost doing things you didn't want to do. How many hours you've spent in places that didn't align with your values. How often you've sacrificed your rest, your priorities, your mental health, just to keep the peace. But the peace you kept out there cost you the peace you needed within. That's the hidden cost of being overly available. It's not just your time, it's your sense of self. From this moment forward, You don't need to be accessible to everyone at all times. You don't need to answer every message immediately. You don't need to solve every problem that's handed to you. You get to choose what you engage with. You get to choose what gets your energy. And you don't have to feel bad about that. You're not abandoning anyone. You're simply returning to your center, where your energy is protected and your focus is sharp. Boundaries are a form of self-care. They tell the world how you expect to be treated. They show others how to interact with you. And more importantly, they show you how to interact with yourself. Every time you honor your limits, you reinforce your own worth. You remind yourself that your needs matter. You prove that your voice deserves to be heard, not just by others, but by you. As you grow, you will outgrow certain dynamics. Some conversations will drain you. Some people will test your patience. Some environments will no longer feel right. And when that happens, don't shrink. Don't tolerate discomfort out of habit. Don't stay where your soul feels heavy. Speak up, step back, walk away if you must. Not with anger, but with clarity. Not with bitterness, but with resolve. You deserve relationships where your boundaries are seen as normal, not as obstacles. You deserve to be around people who respect your no, just as much as your yes. You deserve to move through life without constantly managing other people's reactions to your truth. That's the gift of respecting your own limits. You begin to attract people and opportunities that align with your standards. There is strength in restraint. There is courage in saying no. There is wisdom in walking away. And there is peace in knowing that you don't need to explain yourself to be understood. When you finally decide to honor your own space, you stop betraying yourself for temporary comfort. And that's when you begin to live with clarity, confidence, and quiet power. Chapter 19. Reflect deeply and adjust what is not working. Most people keep going without ever looking back to see where they went wrong. They push forward, thinking movement means progress. But progress is not about speed, it's about direction, and direction can only be corrected when you stop long enough to evaluate your choices. Reflection isn't optional if you want to grow. It's essential, because without pausing to examine what's behind you and around you, you'll keep repeating what's already familiar. Familiar doesn't mean effective. Just because something feels natural doesn't mean it's helping you become who you need to be. That's why reflection isn't about being passive. It's one of the most active, powerful things you can do with your time. When you reflect, you step outside of the emotional fog and look at your life as a whole. You zoom out. You see what you've been accepting, what you've been chasing, and whether any of it makes sense anymore. It's a space of truth, not the kind you show others, but the kind you owe yourself. In this space, you get to be real about what isn't working. And not everything that isn't working is obvious. Sometimes, it's the small habits that slowly steal your time. Sometimes, it's the automatic routines that block new possibilities. Sometimes, it's the way you speak to yourself when no one's around. Deep reflection requires asking hard questions. Where am I compromising too much? Where have I become rigid when I should be open? Where am I playing safe because I'm afraid to fail again? What did I start out of fear and continue out of habit? These aren't casual questions. They take time. They demand honesty. But they give you something far more valuable than comfort. They give you the ability to choose again, to make a different move, to respond to life, not just react to it. Adjustment is not just about changing what you do. It's about understanding why you were doing it that way in the first place. Until you understand the root, you'll keep growing in circles. You'll change the surface, but not the system. True adjustment starts when you question your assumptions. What belief made me choose this path? What story have I been telling myself that keeps me stuck here? Who taught me this was the only way to succeed, to be loved or to feel worthy? These questions don't tear you down, they liberate you. They strip away the noise so you can hear your own voice again. There's a difference between endurance and wisdom. Some people suffer through years of dysfunction thinking they're being strong, but reflection reveals the truth. Strength is not staying in the wrong place. Strength is stepping back, reassessing, and shifting when necessary. When you adjust from a place of understanding, you stop wasting energy on what no longer aligns with your goals. You stop investing in habits that drain you. You stop repeating what used to make sense but now just keeps you small. This process isn't quick. It's not always comfortable either, but it's the only way to ensure that your efforts are building something meaningful. You can work hard for years and still end up nowhere if your direction is off by even a few degrees. A small misalignment compounded over time leads you far away from where you wanted to be. That's why even minor course corrections can create massive impact down the road. But you won't know what to adjust unless you make reflection a regular part of your life. You can't reflect once a year and expect massive transformation. Just like your body needs regular nourishment, your mind needs regular clarity. Daily decisions require regular evaluation. Not every week needs a reinvention, but every season deserves a check-in, and you don't need a crisis to do this work. You don't need to fall apart before you start asking the right questions. Smart people reflect while things are stable, so they can avoid collapse. Wise people pay attention to the cracks before the foundation breaks. When you take responsibility for your patterns, you take back your power. You stop blaming the world for the life you've built. You start seeing how your responses shaped your reality. You stop being a victim of your routines and become the designer of your days. That shift is everything, because when you adjust with intention, your future stops being a guess and starts becoming a plan. There is something deeply empowering about knowing you can choose again. That just because you started down one road doesn't mean you have to stay there forever. That what served you 5 years ago might not belong in your life anymore. That letting go of something doesn't mean it failed. It just means you've outgrown it. You're not here to stay the same. You're here to evolve, and every evolution begins with a pause, a deep breath, and a willingness to see clearly. Reflection also helps you reconnect with your deeper values. When life gets busy, it's easy to forget what truly matters. You chase goals that look good but feel empty. You commit to things that make sense to others but drain your soul. And then you wonder why you feel lost, restless, uninspired. But when you reflect, you remember who you wanted to be before the world told you who you should be. You remember what kind of life you wanted to create, not out of obligation, but out of vision. That remembering brings alignment. And from alignment, better decisions are born. You stop moving out of pressure and start moving out of clarity. You don't just quit things because they're hard. You adjust because you've outgrown them. You don't just chase something new because you're bored. You shift because your old systems no longer support your future. This isn't about impulsively tearing your life apart. It's about thoughtfully upgrading it. You're not reacting, you're refining. You're not escaping, you're evolving. And that's a process that requires maturity. The maturity to admit when something isn't right. The maturity to pause before pushing forward. The maturity to adjust your course while you still have time. And you do have time if you use it well. If you don't, time becomes your excuse. It's too late to change. I've already come this far. I don't want to start over. But none of those thoughts are rooted in truth. They're rooted in fear. Fear of discomfort. Fear of uncertainty. But discomfort is temporary. Misalignment lasts forever if you let it. And nothing is more costly than living a life you don't fully believe in because you were afraid to reflect and adjust. So stop, look, listen to your own thoughts. Study your patterns. Ask yourself questions that peel away the layers, and then act. Not from emotion, not from pressure, but from understanding. Let reflection be your compass. Let adjustment be your superpower. Let growth be your reward, not just once, but again and again, as you become more intentional with each season of your life. Chapter 20. Commit to growth even when nobody believes in you. There will be days when the world goes quiet, when no one claps for you, when your efforts feel invisible. There will be seasons where even those closest to you look at your goals with doubt, not because they're trying to hurt you, but because they can't see what you see, and that's when it really matters. That's when your commitment must be stronger than your need for validation, because growth doesn't wait for approval. It doesn't ask for permission. It's a decision you make in silence, and a promise you keep even when the room is empty. You don't grow by trying to prove people wrong. You grow because you refuse to stay the same. You grow because you want more for your life, not in the material sense, but in the way you live, the way you think, the way you show up every day. And when nobody believes in that journey, that's where your belief in yourself becomes the foundation. Most people only support what they already understand. But if your vision is truly new, it won't be understood yet. And that's not a problem. That's a sign you're walking your own path. There will be moments when people question your progress. They'll ask why it's taking so long, or why you're still trying when there's no obvious result. But growth doesn't follow anyone's timeline. It moves quietly, beneath the surface, until one day everything changes, and those same people act like they always knew you'd make it. But you'll remember how you kept going when it felt like nothing was working. You'll remember how you kept believing when doubt was easier. That's the power of personal commitment. It becomes unshakable, not through applause, but through persistence. The most meaningful growth often happens in isolation. When the crowd disappears, distractions fade, and you're left alone with your goals, your thoughts, your fears. That's where strength is built, not by waiting for someone to cheer you on, but by pushing forward when no one's watching. It's the discipline of showing up even when you feel forgotten. It's the decision to keep learning, keep evolving, keep trying, regardless of who notices, because when you commit to your own growth, you take back control. You stop waiting for someone to tell you you're capable, and you start becoming the proof. Belief is not something others give you. It's something you build, moment by moment, choice by choice. And the truth is, many people won't believe in your growth until it becomes impossible to ignore. But by then, their belief won't matter, because you'll have already arrived. That's why it's so important to do it for yourself. To stop measuring your worth through external responses and start recognizing the power of your own intentions. Every small improvement, every difficult step, every hard decision you make, it's all part of something much bigger, and even if nobody claps for you today, your future self is already thanking you. You're not here to fit into someone else's expectations. You're here to become someone you can respect, and that means being willing to look foolish at first, to struggle in private, to get things wrong while everyone else watches. That's what most people fear. But that fear keeps them stuck. Growth doesn't always look graceful. Sometimes it looks like failing 10 times just to get it right once. Sometimes it looks like walking away from comfort so you can build strength. And sometimes it looks like being misunderstood for a while so you can be deeply understood later. Your path won't always make sense to others, and that's okay. It doesn't need to. What matters is that it makes sense to you, that you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing the work. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying. I'm not there yet. but I'm not where I used to be. That quiet confidence is stronger than any praise. It comes from knowing that you've earned every step forward, that you've kept showing up for yourself, even when no one else did. That kind of integrity builds an unshakable foundation, and over time, it creates a life that speaks for itself. There's something powerful about becoming the person you needed when you were doubting yourself. You don't have to wait for someone to rescue you, motivate you, or remind you of your value. You can be your own proof, your own example, your own reason to keep going. And when you start living like that, people begin to notice, not because you demanded their attention, but because your consistency created undeniable results. That's the irony. When you no longer need their belief, that's when they finally offer it. But don't chase it. Don't make your growth about proving something to them. Make it about living up to the standard you've set for yourself. That's where the real reward is, not in being seen, but in becoming who you were always capable of being. Your commitment isn't fragile. It's not built on whether someone else shows up. It's built on your decision to rise again and again, no matter how hard it gets. The truth is, the most successful people didn't wait for a green light. They didn't wait for applause. They didn't wait for someone to tell them it was possible. They decided. They acted. They believed. And they were willing to walk alone until others saw the path. You can do the same. You can write your own story without asking for a cosign. You can develop in silence, improve without announcing it, grow without seeking credit, because what you're building isn't for show, it's for life. And life doesn't need an audience to be meaningful. Keep your focus on the process. Let each day be a brick in the foundation of your future. When doubt shows up, remind yourself who you're doing this for. When the noise gets loud, return to your center. And when you feel invisible, remember, even trees grow in silence. Even the strongest roots are unseen. You're not falling behind. You're laying depth. You're not stuck. You're stabilizing. And that kind of growth may not be flashy, but it's lasting. It endures storms. It carries you forward long after the crowd has moved on. So if no one claps for you today, keep going. If no one believes in what you're building, build it anyway. If no one understands your dream, protect it with even more focus, because this isn't about them. This is about you, about becoming someone who doesn't just survive but transforms, someone who doesn't wait for belief but lives in a way that makes it inevitable. That's the kind of growth that changes everything. Not because the world noticed, but because you never gave up.